A single prisoner altered the fate of hundreds, but he paid a high price for it.
Hello there my RPG lovers and welcome to another video. I bet that you probably have that one special game in your mind that serves you as a comparison to almost any other game that you play. But what exactly did your perfect game had, and why is it so deeply engraved in that nerdy little brain of yours? The game we're gonna talk about today is definitely the one that made me feel like this, and I'm going to try and explain why Gothic 2 is the uncrowned king of action RPGs. One of the hardest things to get right in a game is immersion. Believable world and the atmosphere are probably the main things that are tied directly to immersion. World map that rewards you for exploring and going off the beaten path, but that can also punish you for being unprepared to face the consequences of your cat-like curiosity. No matter who or what you find in these dangerous areas, you won't get attacked straight away without warning. Even if you enter someone's house, you'll be asked to leave, because apparently people don't like when strangers just barge in.
What do you want here? Go!
You can always try to sneak in if you have that skill, of course. Pull out your weapon in the middle of the city.
Nothing. Put down that weapon!
Bad idea. You see what I mean by that believable world I mentioned. Even though this is a game with medieval fantasy setting, people behavior, their problems, and how you try to fit in all of this seems really believable. You won't get any special treatments, and you can constantly get reminded that you're not a hero. Well, at least until you get stronger and prove otherwise, which is easier said than done. Everyone in this game have their daily schedule, they will sleep, work, and occasionally relax by smoking swamp weed, visiting the tavern at night, or they can take a piss. All of this can also be considered as one of those things that create atmosphere in the game. Besides that, in-game music is so important for creating the perfect atmosphere, and Gothic 2 absolutely nailed this. It really fits the dark mood of the game, but it can also be really relaxing depending on the situation. It's hands down my second favorite OST from any game, right behind the Gothic 3 and Witcher 3 OST, which were just amazing. Kai Rosenkrantz really deserves all the praise for these amazing soundtracks. That will be the part about immersion, but I understand that this can be a highly subjective topic. For the most part, the reason we play games is the gameplay, of course. This can be a really weird experience, especially if you didn't have any contact with Piranha Bytes games before. I can't say that gameplay aged really well in this game, but if you manage to get through the clunky control system, you will eventually stop bashing your head on the keyboards. The melee combat in its core is pretty simplistic, but I still prefer it over Gothic's 3 melee system. It has a simple combo system, you can chain your hits by attacking right at the end of your previous attack. The speed and the reach of your weapon will depend on the weapon type and your skill. You will get better by increasing your stats and by learning new skills from the trainers, which will allow you to unlock extra combo attacks and higher crit chance. You'll need learning points that you get by leveling, and you need to find a trainer to teach you.
Oh, these boys swing their swords like farmers.
You can't just open a menu and increase your stat, you actually have to find the right person who can teach you your desirable skill.
I want to learn your abilities.
Sure. What do you want to know?
I always really like this progression system because it kinda makes sense. The thing I like the most from the whole progression system is the feeling of finally being able to defeat a certain monster or any other NPC that gave you so much trouble in the past. Going back to that Shadow Beast cave or abandoned camp and actually feeling like you have a chance is really amazing. Kind to think of it, this is probably the turning point in Gothic 2. If you never played this game before and if you're having troubles getting into it, when you manage to hold on until you progress your character a bit, that's the moment when you get completely hooked and you learn to accept Gothic's 2 rules. It only gets better from there, trust me. But what's an RPG without options and freedom to do what you want? There's almost always multiple ways of doing a quest, you just have to figure out how. You can usually do that by exploring, of course, and talking to all the NPCs. Even one of the first quests can be done in 6 or even 7 ways if you count a small exploit. I really wish that more RPGs have similar approach to solving quests and not just one linear way that's by the way right on your map. Speaking about the map, you don't have one in Gothic 2 until you find the guy who sells them. The island itself is not huge, but it's definitely not small either. You have many secrets to discover and loot to find. The climbing system works for the most time, but it can be really clunky. For the most time. It definitely adds another dimension to exploring because it allows you to access some interesting areas, and like I said in the beginning, the exploration is always rewarded. The world design is one of the strongest, if not the strongest aspect in Piranha Bytes games. No loading screens, except when you access the DLC area, so nothing is pulling you out of the exploring experience. On your journey through the island, you will meet a lot of your friends from Gothic 1, and if you didn't play the first game, don't worry, because they will gladly remind you how you met them before.
Wait a moment. I know you. You're the fellow who was constantly baking arrows for me in the Valley of Mines.
Every NPC is voice acted, and considering that you almost always have more than 3 lines to ask them, this was pretty amazing for 2002. Granted, the quality of the voice acting is really inconsistent, ranging from decent and good.
Lord Andre, the commander of the city guard, is responsible for all issues pertaining to the common folk,
to pretty bad and annoying.
This hot creature of the night will give your life a new meaning.
But then again, this also deserves immersion points. Speaking about NPCs, there are 3 major guilds on the island that you can join. Each of them have different quests and perks for your character, and in order to see everything that game has to offer, you would need to do at least 3 playthroughs. The Paladins, Mercenaries and the Fire Mages are all really different and unique. Without spoiling anything, the main quest has a big twist at the end which I didn't anticipate at all. It made me so mad the first time I finished the game. The story works in chapters, and at the beginning of each chapter something will change on the island. Some monsters will respawn, some NPCs won't be on the same locations, etc, etc. This felt like a good way of refreshing the game's pace from time to time. You never feel like the game is holding your hand, which was really common with these older RPGs. Thinking out of the box is highly recommended, but your choices will have consequences, even for some minor stuff that you maybe didn't expect. I was role-playing a bit, so naturally I was being a jerk, and I attacked a couple of citizens from the harbor area for some gold and a nice chunk of XP. The thing is, if knights or militia see you, they will attack you on sight, but I made sure that this was not the case. Then after some time of exploring the city and passing by Andre, one of the leaders of the knights in the city...
You must be the new fellow who has caused the trouble here in the city. It is one thing if you brawl with the rabble in the harbor, but when you attack citizens or the king's soldiers, I must bring you to justice.
Until you pay this fee, you won't be able to do quests for him, which sucks because there are a lot of quests that involve Andre in some way. In order to join the Paladins, one of the main guilds, you have to do quests for Andre, by the way. Also, if you attack some neutral NPCs, when you manage to beat them, they will just be knocked down, but in order to actually kill them, you need to do a combo with your weapon by holding the right mouse button, then clicking the left mouse button. This is not advisable.
Die, murderer!
To show you how little they care about you, once you get knocked down by someone, they will take your weapon and your gold.
Gold? Okay, that's mine for starters. I think I'll take your weapon for safekeeping.
If you double cross some NPC, don't think for a second that they won't try to return the favor later on.
I warned you, but you wouldn't listen. We will discuss this later.
And all of this wouldn't be so impactful if the game wasn't so challenging. At the beginning of every Piranha Bytes game, you're just a wimp and everyone can push you around. You can still act like a badass in dialogue, but this will usually get you slapped, so it's better to keep your mouth shut until you can actually back up those strong words. The sense of danger is really strong, especially if you for some reason decide to explore at night. Even though this game is now 17 years old, the feeling you get while exploring the island at night can be compared with some modern and much more visually impressive game. I didn't even mention the magic system in this game. You can cast spells with magic runes and scrolls. No matter which guild you choose, you will be able to cast spells with scrolls, but in order to learn magic circles and cast spells with runes, you'll need to join the Fire Mages and do quests for them. There are just so much things that I find enjoyable in this game, and I feel like I could talk about it for hours, but as you probably know if you've been following me for a while, I don't really like long videos. But I think I listed enough features that I love in this game, and this will hopefully convince someone who hasn't played the game to try it out. That would be all the reasons why I think that Gothic 2 is an uncrowned king of action RPGs. If you like this video, please press the thumbs up button because it does help a lot, and consider subscribing. My whole channel is based around RPGs, and if you're into those kind of games, you'll probably find something for you. Special thanks to my patrons, and if you as well want to become one, I'll leave all the links in the description. See ya in the next one.